Hi and welcome to U218. My name's Jeff Horn and this is a review for Shazam from 2019, or as it's actually titled, Shazam, because it's got an exclamation mark at the end. Shazam is what can most accurately be described as DC attempting to reboot the younger portion of their audience. But the long and the short of it is that it's basically Big in a superhero universe. So there's the Tom Hanks film Big. You've got a kid who through various happenstances becomes a superhero, but optionally. So he's a 15-year-old, except I think he's a bit younger than that. But when he says the word Shazam, he turns into this 30-ish kind of buff guy with superpowers, but he retains the personality of the kid. Even that, I believe, is a change from the comic books. I believe the adult version of the kid, so Shazam, I suppose, had sort of a wisdom, but I don't know about that. But in Shazam, he certainly doesn't. So he's a 15-year-old transplanted to a 30-something adult. The weird things about the film from the outset is that Zachary Levi is obviously a fit guy, but he's still in a muscle suit. And you can tell it quite clearly. His shoulders are far too big and his biceps are far too big for his body. And then later on, when you see sort of the lower half a bit more, you realise that his thighs are just way too big for that human being. Unlike Henry Cavill, he's got a bodysuit on. And it looks a little bit peculiar. It turns up the dial on comic book as opposed to the drama-based kind of thing. It's well lit, it's very bright as a movie, so you can always see what's going on, which again is very different to the earlier DC movies, particularly the Batman, Superman ones, the Zack Snyder ones, I guess. It's got some themes which work quite well. It's got a lot of performances that work well. So that the main character, when he's a kid, is brought into a foster home, and so there are other kids of weirdly specific ages. So there's like a 3-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 15-year-old, and an 18-year-old. So we're really covering the full spread of target audience here. But we go back to again and again the themes of family and being friendship, being without something, whether it's without a family, whether it's physical capability or whatever. And the movie skirts around those, and in fact integrates those themes really well, I've got to be honest. About half the film is taken up with Shazam learning who he is and learning what powers he's got, so it's a superhero origin story. The other half is fighting the bad guy, and the bad guy in this case is Mark Strong, and using the same kind of magic-ish that Shazam has got his powers from. Mark Strong's character has pretty much the same characters, but with some caveats. And obviously there's a fight at the end, and someone wins and someone loses. What's peculiar about Shazam, and what really doesn't work, is that it's tonally weird. When he's a 15-year-old, I think he's Billy Batson, that character is a together, independent young adult. When he becomes Shazam, he becomes a goofy, stupid, ignorant fool. And it just doesn't work. It's almost like Shazam, rather than getting wise when he gets all these powers, his IQ reduces, and that never changes throughout the course of the film. And it's such that it has to have been a directorial decision, because that sort of thing kind of comes out in the writing, but definitely comes out in the performance. And Zachary Levi's performance is pretty good, but it feels like he was pushed this way, or well, he may have wanted to go that way as well, I don't know, but it feels like he was nudged towards this kind of clown kind of area. People die in this film, sometimes just off screen, but it's, you very definitely know what's happening. And tonally, it feels like it's almost, the change from Deadpool to Deadpool 2 was quite significant in terms of tone. This feels like the same change, but further down, so even more for kids. But this is DC, this isn't Marvel. There's constant reference made to Superman and Batman, as if there is a sequel to this, that they will appear. And there's a secret here, but in the film, but I won't spoil it. I don't think any reference is made in the film to Wonder Woman, and there is only one reference, I think, to Aquaman, which makes me wonder, when was this written? Was it written 5 years ago and then they didn't update it at all, even though they only finished filming it 12 months ago? Or even less than that, I think. There's something not quite right in the way that it fits in. It's almost like they're going to try and they can dispense with it and say that it didn't happen. There's no point talking about the action sequences and special effects and this kind of thing, because they're all the same. As long as the biggest problem that DC films have had of late is that you can't see what's going on because there's too much on the screen. So that's about kind of self-editing in terms of special effects, direction, etc. In this, that's made a lot better. You can see what's going on. And what's going on looks pretty good. I enjoyed Shazam, but I don't really feel the need to see it again. And really, the problem is that Shazam himself, the character of Shazam, is the main problem. It's not the performances, it's not the direction, I guess it's the writing. He's just not a very interesting character to follow. I mean, you follow him for about half the film. He doesn't really turn up until the second half of the film, and then he's all showy, and so it becomes about him. Obviously, he's the title character. But you've got to ask yourself, at the end of a film that's clearly meant to have sequels, do you want to see more of this guy? And kind of, no, not really. You know, I can do without him. I probably will, because it's come out and I see just about everything. But there's nothing essential about Shazam. And that's the main crime that it's committed. It's okay. If you haven't already, why not consider subscribing so you can catch on to these movie reviews as I release them. And leave a comment so I know you're there. And other than that, my name's Jeff Horn. This has been New to 18. I'll see you soon.